Welcome to Roll for Geekiness. A and J here, and 2022. What a year.
Yes. What a year.
What does that mean?
It means it's been a long year.
It has been a long year. We did a lot this year.
We did, especially for people who really are relatively new to this. We did a lot.
Yeah, this will be our 17th video of the year by the time this gets posted, and we went to 8 events this year. Premiered 8 new cosplays amongst the two of us and Q, and a couple other props and stuff that contributed to some closet cosplays for some events. We'll talk about that as we go through, and yeah, we did a lot. And I think part of that is we started off the year with an event that we were supposed to go to in 2022.
2020, you mean?
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. That's right. It is 2022. Right. So we were supposed to go to that event 2 years ago. There were a couple events this year that were ones that we were supposed to go to 2 years ago or a year ago as we had originally been planning. And so we a lot of that got crammed into this year, but I don't know that this year was necessarily going to be anomalous for us as we look forward to what we're looking at next year. We're already looking at going to a fair number of events, and we've only got about half of next year solidly planned at this point. So
I think we're strategizing a little bit differently for this coming year because we did take on a lot of new projects, and I think we're trying to be more thoughtful about how we go about that moving forward.
yeah, we definitely learned some lessons in project/time management this year. Both of us had some projects that didn't get done on the time scales that we had planned on, and so yeah, some lessons learned there too, but we can unpack that as we go. So 2022 started with International Steampunk Symposium, Cincinnati, Ohio, back in March. We premiered your Steampunk Maleficent, photo inserted here, and Dr. Von Strom, and you were pretty much done with that and ready to go 2 years ago. I kind of, people saw me finish off parts of Dr. Von Strom in 2021 and even very early in 2022 because as soon as that event got canceled, I was like, well, I'm going to work on some other stuff then. So I had to loop back around and get some of that stuff finished, and we each pumped out a few other props to go, some closet cosplays for that event too that went with the Wild West theme for that event. So I steampunked Nerf Blaster, and you made some Derringers, 3D printed Derringers to go with a
Little pink job, yep.
costume. Yeah, well, yeah. So yeah, that contributed to things that we worked on this year, or leading up to this year, realistically. And that was a good event. You know, the CC event report for that event, linked here, there, wherever. If you've been following us, then you saw it.
So, yes, that was good. As you said, C event report for Steampunk Symposium. We then went to Saratoga Comic Con, which is out in Albany, or near that area.
Saratoga Springs, near Albany.
Yeah, near Albany. And that was in May. That was an event that you and I took. What did we end up taking to that event?
I went in Ryu and you went in Lilu.
That's right.
And that was an event we'd heard about through some of the local communities. We hadn't been to it, hadn't really been on our radar, I think, at the beginning of the year, but we were like, yeah, we should check this out. And that's an event that happens twice a year. And again, see our report from that video. I think we had a little more of a mixed experience there than other events. But yeah, wasn't bad. And then after that, Q and I went to HVZ Endor, which was an event that had, again, been canceled from 2020, where it was going to be in State College, PA, which, again, isn't horribly far from us. They did have to change venues since they were rescheduling it for 2 years later. And so it was in Rochester this year. That's an event that moves around a bit. Yeah, Q and I did a video on that. It was a little different than we maybe had been expecting from some of our other nerfing experiences, but we learned a lot, and we're going to come away with a different tack, I think, for some of our future projects, and you'll see that in the next year or so. We don't know when or where it's going to be next year, so we'll see if we make it to that one again. But that was an event where we definitely tried to squeeze in a few projects in preparation for that we hadn't necessarily been planning. Yeah. So maybe now you're starting to see a theme of trying to squeeze in stuff as events are coming along, which did throw us off later in the year, and I think we'll do that in a moment.
Yeah, not so much though for Key City Steampunk, which was in August of this year in Gettysburg. Yeah. We ended up recycling some things we had already taken to Steampunk Symposium. I did whip up Red Riding Hood.
Yeah. We knocked out a few little bits and pieces to fit the theme, which was fairy tales. You did a little Red Riding Hood cloak cape thing. Mm-hmm. I knocked out a steampunk crossbow so that I could do Maleficent's Huntsman.
And you were a Wolverine.
Yes, I was Wolverine to go with your Red Riding Hood. That just was whatever.
It was great and people loved it. Thanks.
That was an event, again, we hadn't, that one had been, came onto our radar relatively short notice, and we said, yeah, let's give this one a try. So yeah, we didn't know a lot about what to expect at the event in terms of other activities and stuff going on. Hadn't really planned any builds specifically for that event, so.
Yeah, which I think did change probably just our stress level around it and the experience in general in terms of not feeling too pressed for time or energy leading up to it.
Yeah, and then we also squeezed in Flower City Comic-Con.
That was also a toss-up, I think, in terms of whether we were going to go to that or not.
For a while. We've been aware of that one. And again, it was canceled for a little while because of COVID, and so this may have been the first time they've done it again since then. Again, it's not horribly far away, so we thought, hey, let's give some of our local events a try, and we went out to Rochester for that one in late September. Let's see. That was fairly good timing because it actually let me do a shakedown of my Colonial Marine Smart Gunner, which I had literally just finished in preparation for New York Comic Con, which we'll talk about in a moment. So that gave me an opportunity to kind of put it all on and see what needed to be adjusted in the week or so there before New York. So that was good. And Q was able to try out their Tokiyami.
Yep.
Though they weren't quite done with it yet still.
Yeah, I just came along for the ride as Lara Croft, so I could have free hands and full peripheral vision, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, again, see our report from that event. That was again, I think that was another mixed bag for us. Again, not a bad event, but
And New York then came next, which
very closely next, yes.
yes, which is one of the big ones that everyone talks about.
The big uns.
And it certainly was big. We
See event report. We talked a lot about just how huge that event was and all the things happening in that video. So it was an experience.
Well, and as you said, you got to display your smart gunner and had worked out some of the kinks beforehand. And I got a chance to debut Dr. Harleen Quinzel, which was very exciting and very appreciated, as well as my poison ivy. Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, I had actually been planning on 2 big builds for New York Comic Con, and it was probably about halfway through the year where I realized I was not going to be able to get them both done. So one of those projects got sidelined. If you were following along, you know which one. And the Smart Gunner got finished. And then in the same vein, you had been planning another costume for New York Comic Con as well. And the timing between getting your gigantic mallet done and doing the crazy wig styling and all of the sewing that you did for Poison Ivy was...
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we both underestimated how much time and energy it would take to finish the projects we had on our docket. So that's why I mentioned earlier that I think we're going to be strategizing slightly different moving forward.
Yeah, and I know for me too, it was the fact that there were a lot of other projects that diverted my attention throughout the year. Because I had started on both my Smart Gunner and my Drop Trooper builds at this time a year ago. I had started them before 2022 even started. I was 3D printing parts and starting to plan those builds. And then again, like I got sidetracked by something I needed to finish for Steampunk Symposium. I got sidetracked by some Nerf projects for End War. I got sidetracked by a little thing here for Key City. And eventually it was just like, wow, yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have the time. So either I need to like very strictly stick to my project schedule if I say I'm going to do 2 big projects like that in a year, or I just can't plan for that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think personally, as we've discussed, I appreciate taking more time and energy on one thing and feeling really good about how it came out, and then maybe going back and adding or embellishing or editing. And I think what was happening trying to do many things at once is, I know my Poison Ivy came out pretty nice, I think, but wasn't everything I imagined it to be. And some of the materials I ended up choosing, I would have gone back if I had more time and done things differently. So, I mean, some of that's just lessons learned of not being an experienced sewist or a person who sews that often, and learning to work with new materials. So some of that's just learning curve, but yeah.
Yeah, and I know there were also parts specifically for that costume. There were other things that you wanted to include in there that didn't get included, and that we'll probably see in a future upgrade.
Yes.
Stay tuned. Looking at you, little miniature smoke machine. Oops.
We should talk a little bit about that at the end of the video in terms of things to come.
Yeah. No, we're totally going to talk about things coming for next year, events coming up, and projects coming up, because we are already well into the planning for those things, and have been actually for a year for some of the stuff that's coming up soon. But now we're getting ahead of ourselves because it was right after New York Comic Con that we went to Rhode Island Comic Con.
Yes.
Which was another one that would somehow, like, it had slipped under our radars, and then we heard about it and went, wow, it's actually a really large event in terms of attendance. It's closer than Dragon Con. It's further away than New York Comic Con. But, you know, let's give that a try. And again, I think see event report. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a thing.
Yeah. And at that point, you and I brought a lot of the same things. We had been building some things for New York, and those things got rolled over into Rhode Island for the most part in terms of costumes.
They did.
Yes? No?
Well, I premiered my Sabito at Rhode Island
yes.
Comic Con.
Sorry.
Because that was something I had been planning on for
Yes.
next year, but had already gotten it all together. And so
Apologies.
when I realized there was something else I really wanted to do for next year, I said, well, I can premiere Sabito just a little bit early. So that was a new one for Rhode Island Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I guess I did have two at New York Comic Con because I don't give much credit to my generic operator cosplay.
Yes.
But that's
It's such an excellent cosplay, though.
it requires too much explanation, I think. But anyway,
That's how you get a chance to talk to people.
it's
fun.
true. Anyway, so Rhode Island Comic Con, and then we finished our event circuit for the year with another local con that popped onto our radar, Twin Tiers Comic Con.
Mm-hmm. Which was out in Horse, right?
Yes, it was in the Elmira area, specifically Horseheads this year because of the location they found. I don't know if it'll be that location again next year or whatever.
Yeah.
We talked about things like that in our event report from that video. Event report from that video, event report from that event in this video. One right there. Or there? I don't know, wherever I can put that link. We'll see. Yeah, and that was a solid event.
That was a lovely local event. It was very solid.
That's a great way to put it. A lovely local.
It was, though. I don't mean that in any kind of demeaning way.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was, honestly, it was a bit of a dark horse in terms of I expected us to show up and be like, meh, this is fine. And instead I was like, yeah, this is solid. This is good. I'm enjoying myself and meeting some cool people, and it was worth the drive and the time to go check it out. So I'm really
Agreed.
glad that we did that.
Yeah, I think in my book that was one of the better events we attended last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we attended some pretty good events.
Yeah.
As I stare at my list, which you can't see. But we just talked about it, so hey. You don't
So,
see it.
you already know all these things, though.
Yeah, you
from all
did,
of our
because you've
event
been
reports.
following us all year and you've watched all of those videos. You've been following us from this journey all along.
Thanks, Mom. No. So.
Your mom watches our videos?
No, I think she has better things to do.
Anyway, so now that's fine. You know all about that. You want to know what we're up to next.
Yes. So first up in the new year.
Katsucon. And like I said, we've actually been planning this one for over a year. We knew that we'd be going to Katsucon in February of 2023, and we have been planning well ahead of time. So I know I've already teased some of my work in progress on Hacker from Akudama Drive. That'll be there. I know you've already actually seen most of my stuff done for Bato from Ghost in the Shell, because I can't be painting things this time of year. It's kind of like snowy outside right now. So a lot of things that need paint or clear coat, we have to plan out and work on ahead of time. So you've already seen a lot of what I've been working on. You've also seen some of the stuff I've been doing for Amajiki / Sun Eater from My Hero Academia. So you know what I'm taking to Katsucon. I don't know if they know what you're bringing to Katsucon.
It's a mystery. No.
Mystery.
No, it's not. That would be terrible at this point. If it was a mystery.
You've got 6 weeks. Go!
So I will be taking all new things as well. I've got a Hanji lined up from Attack on Titan. I have Susumaru from Demon Slayer, and I will be constructing from scratch. Well, okay, I'm not really making the wig fibers, but pretty much everything else I'm having to sew or construct for Wicked Lady from Sailor Moon, which is a really big throwback, but definitely something I'm feeling pretty excited about, and definitely a big challenge from a sewing perspective.
After Katsucon,
We've got COGS.
COGS. That stands for something. COGS is an acronym, and I can never remember what it is. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's a steampunk event.
Yeah.
In New Jersey.
Northeastern Steampunk event.
Yes, so we will be attending that in May.
Yes, May. And for that event,
I think we'll be bringing some of our favorites, our original OCs probably will be there. I bet Maleficent and Dr. Von Strom will be there, but you're whipping up something new.
I will be hopefully debuting a steampunk Harley based off of the newer Suicide Squad movie. And
Yeah, you're doing that big red dress.
shh, we don't want to get their hopes up. Let's just see what happens.
And I will be premiering a steampunk Deadpool, that event as well, so
We're gonna be a good pair.
yeah. Harley and Deadpool, the classic crossover couple.
Yes. And
then we're hoping to make it down in June to Cosplay America, because that just looks like a really awesome event and we want to go.
yes, it looks like an opportunity to learn a bunch of cool things, and both of us are pretty interested in the making aspect of this as a hobby, so
Yeah.
there seems to be a real angle towards that, and just presentation, etc. So
Yeah, it looks right up our alley. They've only just recently announced the dates. We don't have any other details for next year yet, though, so we will throw together our plans as they throw together theirs.
I was gonna say, depending on how things go these next few months, there may or may not be something else in the mix there, or I'm just bringing what I have.
I'm hoping that everything, because it feels like everything will line up to give me the time to knock out the project that I started last year and did not get to finish for New York Comic Con, and that is my 40K Elysian Drop Troop Stormtrooper that I had started working on last year. You saw me 3D print some of the comically large grenades for that. You saw me start to template out parts for the armor. So I'm already a little ways into that. I'm thinking I should have the time to get that knocked out between now and June. But we'll see, because I have several other projects that need to be finished for other events.
Yeah, and I think that kind of wraps it up for the moment.
Yeah, that's all I've got in my notes about events that we're planning on and projects that we're planning on. Because like I said, we've only got the first half of next year kind of locked in at this point.
So, shall we close out with a roll of the die?
With a roll of the die, our last roll for 2022.
You want me to roll, or you want to roll?
Well, I'm closer to something that can be rolled on, so. Let's see, that goes to, and remember, your project's not done until you've either bled on it, cried on it, thrown it against the wall, or some combination of all three.
Nothing against a combo. See you in 2023.